skill. Okay. And the way we do that is that we have to take risk. And she found that kids that wanted the easiest puzzles so that they get the jigsaw puzzles right had a fixed mindset. The ones that wanted the most difficult ones that didn't care if they got, they wanted to do it right, but they wanted a challenge. I encourage you as leaders, what's your challenge? What's going to get you to the growth mindset starting today that's going to kick your leadership up one notch? Remain controlled. There's a ton of books, but I like EQ 2.0. It's a good one because it's not very pricey, and you can get the book, and it gives you a little test in it, and it introduces you really well to emotional intelligence. EQ 2.0. Don't lose your control, and don't lose your cool. That happened to Steve Jobs quite a bit. He would lose his cool, start screaming and yelling and crying, and it didn't really serve him well. Reward and recognize. There's a phenomenal book called The 5 Languages of Love. Anyone here read that? Several people. Good, I see the hands going up, a few. 5 Languages of Love. And you say, well, how does that apply to business? Well, it does. They've studied it. 5 languages of love in business and reward and recognition. It all relates. And the 5 are words. Some people like words of affirmation, verbally. Some don't. Touch. Now that's tricky to do at work. I encourage you not to go too far with that. But touch, maybe a pat on the back, upper. Okay. Words, touch, gifts, acts of service, and time spent. Some people want just time spent with me. Now, at work, can't we apply some of these things? Time spent, acts of service? Come on, it's critical. You pull out and do one of those because you have to find out what a person's primary is and what their secondary is. And they're saying in this book, and I believe it's true in any relationship as well, use these for your partnerships, use these for your relationship. In any relationship, we have a primary and a secondary, and if those are not met, your relationship will fall apart. And I believe it to be true. They give a lot. Bill and Melinda Gates, everybody's heard of them, obviously, and they have this foundation that gives and gives and gives, but they also reward and recognize their teams. So does Google. So does Twitter. So does Facebook. So does Netflix. You heard Netflix. They don't even have an HR policy. You heard that this morning. They have no policy manual. How great is that? They trust everybody enough. They're not easy to work for. They're hard. They require everyone every year to keep adjusting their skills. They're business owners. They treat everybody as a business owner. And that's what it's getting to be more and more. Succeed and learn from failure. And here I like to use, again, Carol Dweck comes in again here because she promotes that. But one of the best leadership books I've ever read is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you don't read any leadership book in your life, everything is in there. For 30 years, he studied, because he was paid to do this, the wealthiest people in the world during the growth of the revolution of America and all these steel magnates, all different kinds of people he studied. And what he found is a set of traits that they had. And you could put think and do anything. He just happened to put rich in there. But you could put think and do blank. And if you follow Napoleon Hill's processes, you're going to be one of the best leaders that you can be. You did that alone, you would transform your leadership. There's a thing in there called a mastermind group. I highly encourage you to read the book and start a mastermind group right away. It will take your leadership where you've never gone before and wouldn't go alone because you'll be there with Napoleon Hill, who had 30 years of studying what is effective leadership. So with all further ado, it takes a willingness to step out of our comfort zone. And everybody's in it, even I am. How do we get out of it? What's going to be the trigger? The need to readily adapt and change. Well, you came to this session. You wouldn't be here if you weren't ready. So you were ready to hear it. And I give you congratulations for that. It's an obligation to develop your skill set forever. How do we develop our skills into ongoing learning? It's not just an event. It's not just coming to here. It's what do you do every single day? What do you read? What do you do? Who do you hang out with? What do you learn about them? And I just went to a great session with John Maxwell. Has anybody ever heard of John Maxwell? He's a phenomenal leadership developer. He's written about 50 leadership books. And he just finished a book that is fabulous, Asking Great Questions. Great leaders ask great questions. And in there, what he talks about are these questions that you can ask somebody, just like the questions we had in the icebreaker, but tailored to that person. It will take you where you've never gone before, I can guarantee it. And make a commitment. That means that there's going to be ups, downs, sideways. You're going to say, I don't have any time. I can't do that 50 cup of coffee thing. If you just write the list, when you write the list, then you do one at a time, you'll make it happen. Make that commitment to have a shift. Live and lead with courage. So I want you all to write down one commitment right now that you're going to take away. One commitment. Because you all said you were going to do that when we started this workshop today. I'm holding you to it. Remember, my feedback is I don't hold people accountable. And I didn't bring my hammer with me. So, got to do it. I want to thank everyone here for attending. And I want to open it up. Is there any questions anybody has? And I'll be up here to answer questions. Like I said, if you give me your card, we'll send you the charts, if you the PowerPoint and the compass. Yes?
Mike, along the same lines, when you're delegating, it's really hard to delegate because they aren't going to do it the way that you do it, right? So how do you alleviate those fears?
That's a great question. And so you've got to go slowly. The question was, how do you leave the fears of delegation? Because it's hard. They're not going to do it as good as you. And I remember that with me. I run a program called Leadership Journey. I didn't want to let my coaches do it because they weren't going to do it as good as me. And as soon as they were done, I said, you didn't do it as good as me. And I wanted to be back. You've got to figure out, number one, where are they? That's why I recommend situational leadership. What is their fears? And what is their skill and what is their will? That's what situational leadership is. And so what technical skills do they have? But what emotional side are they? Where are they? And you got to figure that out. And the more you figure that out, the more honed you are in how much you can let them go. So you can't let it go right away with everything. So you've got to do some training, some hand-holding, and then you let it go slowly. And that'll alleviate your concerns and their concerns. Document things. Let them document. Do it a little bit at a time, but you got to do it. Does that answer? Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Do you give us a nudge on how to use this side of the page?
Oh, yes. Okay. On that side of the page is just, do you have your goals? Are they documented? For example, 50 cups of coffee is an example that I use. That needs to be written down, not 50 cups of coffee. You got to write down the 50 names. Okay? Steve Nudelberg is adamant about that. He just recently did that with an organization, and their productivity went up 30%. Now, it's a sales group, but the guy couldn't believe it. He said, just from 50 cups of coffee? Yes. It's amazing. I encourage you to use it. Even though your title may not be sales, all of you are selling all the time. So does that help you with that? In other words, you document where you're at on that side. So, for example, where are you at with committing to your goals? Do you commit to them? For your personal goals? And you know if you do. It's like going to exercise. I go to CrossFit in the morning, and I have a thing to be there 3 to 5 days a week. And if I'm not there 3 to 5 days a week, I know I didn't live to my commitment to myself. Now, who am I really cheating? I'm not cheating anybody else, certainly not Dwayne. He doesn't care if I come or not. The issue is I got to show up. I got to commit to me. So it's, again, that other side is what gap exists for you. Does that help? Do we have more time or any other question? I have 1 minute. Anybody else have a question? These are great questions, by the way. Anybody else have a question? Yes. Yes, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow is Marcia Sindelar, Sindelar. She used to be called Weidner, Wiedner, I think is how she spelled it. And if you Google Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow, that comes up. Yes. Great questions. I want to... oh, wait, got another question.
You had spoken about a book on the delegate piece about creating a franchise for yourself.
Say it again. Which one?
Around delegating, creating a franchise of yourself.
Oh, yeah. What book did I recommend there? God, I'm going. Situational Leadership.
Okay.
Yes. And it's by Ken Blanchard. And there may not be any books on it. You may have to go through one of his processes. It's well worth it. Whatever you have to pay to do it, if you're in a leadership position, do it. Ken Blanchard. Okay. With that, I want to thank everybody. I'll be up here to answer questions. And I look forward to seeing you at the conference. Thank you.